Chapter 17: How to Champion the Good Idea. In 1973, a man by the name of Steve Sasson went to work for Kodak. Palpable interest in all things digital was beginning to grow everywhere, and most companies wanted to know how they could get in on it. In 1975, Steve's boss assigned him to an engineering unit to work on coming up with ideas around a recently discovered CCD, Charged Coupled Device Microchip. After exploring a few ideas that went nowhere, he got creative. He thought, what if I use these chips to capture light in some way and make a digital impression? It was a new way to think and was creatively ambitious. No one had ever done that with this particular chip, and he thought to himself, what do I have to lose? What Sasson made while thinking creatively changed the course of history forever. He wound up creating the world's first digital camera. This 8-pound device had 16 batteries, a tape cassette recorder, and several dozen circuits wired together. It looked like a bomb straight out of an old cartoon, but this idea changed technology forever. It took 0.01 megapixel photos in black and white and recorded them to a tape. Each photo took almost half a minute to produce, and if you wanted to view a photo, you had to play back the tape and plug it into a television screen, which took another minute or so. The picture quality was horrible. The image was grainy and noisy and didn't look very good. But none of that mattered. It was the first handheld digital camera ever invented, and it couldn't have come at a better time or in a more relevant company. Eventually, Sasson made his way onto the leadership team at Kodak, but instead of his creativity being championed, his digital camera was not well received. No one liked or understood his invention, which was even seen as threatening. In the end, the leadership team at Kodak convinced themselves that no one would ever want to take a picture digitally, and that things would stay the same forever. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Kodak's story is a tragic one, but the important thing to ask here is why it happened. It turns out that a combination of things had gone wrong for Kodak that we can learn from so that they don't happen to us. When creativity occurs in our business or career, we need to be ready to capture it in all we do. What can you do to champion creativity in your career or your company? Here are a few tools that can help. How to be a stalwart supporter of creativity. The rest of this chapter lists techniques that will allow you to support creativity. Number 1. Think like a child. When you were a kid, you were free to make plenty of mistakes. The stakes were just not that high. If you failed in playing, or dancing, or just about anything else, you didn't blame yourself or the market conditions. Of course not. You just went out and tried again. Here is the important thing. When we think like a child, we are not afraid to retry what has failed. What you end up gaining is a childlike indifference to aversion, a form of creative grit. Now it is time to use the grit you had as a kid. It's the same grit you can use as an adult to bounce back. When you think like a child, you give yourself permission to explore, to go big, to dream, and to imagine the bigger picture creatively. Think more like a child when you are solving problems in your career or business. You will get an opportunity to push the boundaries on potential solutions and rely on your grit in dealing with failure. In those potential solutions, there are opportunities to champion creativity. One of the side benefits of thinking like a kid is the camaraderie it creates. When you give life to an idea while thinking like a child, you may ignite a following in others. Sort of like a contagious connection fueled by bucking the status quo, thinking like a child can rally support. Coworkers and customers see the need for ideas like yours that are disruptive because they were children at one point too. Everyone was. There is a certain memory that is triggered by thinking like a child that is communal. Therefore, connecting to the primordial creative brain we are all born with has the ability to champion any creative idea in any organization. Number 2. Try saying yes sometimes. I wonder what would happen at your company if an employee or coworker presented an idea like the digital camera at Kodak. How would you react? Do you think you would be able to spot the potential of this innovation? Would you be prepared to take a leap with a creator mindset and see the potential for something that is so fundamentally disruptive to your organization? Sadly, the answer is probably not. We have spent so much time specializing in understanding our role in our career or our company's function that we cannot see outside the day-to-day grind. It really is true that sometimes the best ideas come from unexpected places, but are we willing to look in unexpected places for newfound creativity? Taking a leap of faith by saying yes from time to time is one way to look in those unexpected places for ideas. It is one way to see outside the daily grind. So much time is spent saying no in business today. Try saying yes from time to time. Yes requires that you take a risk. No is always a safe way out. No matter who you are, from the owner of the company all the way to an intern, it is your job to help champion the idea regardless of its origin. Saying yes allows you to understand that in a world of constant change, sometimes we don't have all the answers. No is a far easier position and involves less risk. Saying yes takes far more effort, but the payoff to yes is far greater. Higher risk, higher reward, higher championing of creativity. Number 3, recognize fear. Fear of failure is a major force in driving bad business and career decisions today. As we have seen, it is in failure that creativity can shine. So why are we so afraid of it? Sometimes it is more about getting it wrong and learning than getting it right and not learning. Sure, your mistakes can lead to big issues from time to time, but I would argue that trying to get it right all the time, which is impossible, is far more costly in the long run. Creative ideas get stifled when you're on a mission to get it right all the time, and the fear of the unknown leads to a paralysis of action on any risk that destroys creativity. What fear exists in your organization or career that is preventing you from being a champion of innovation? Most folks would say that it's bad cash flow, lack of profit, or constantly decreasing margins. Maybe it's a bad boss or a lack of clear career objectives. These certainly are real fears, but they are fears that can be transcended at all levels with creativity. Let's look at these fears quickly, one by one. Number 1. A lack of cash flow can be changed easily if you have the right mindset. It turns out that limitations, unavailable cash flow in this case, force you to use creativity, which is essentially free, to transcend your current limitation and come up with a solution. You most likely don't need a loan or have to renegotiate terms on your accounts receivable. You need to look at every nook and cranny of where the cash is being spent and then implement creativity. Number 2. Lack of profit is a wonderful problem to have. It means you have some level of existing revenue and have not been able to leverage it to profitability at sufficient levels. Here you look at the problem creatively to employ a solution. Is it inventory, pricing, education, or something internal that is creating this lack of profit? There are so many places to look that you are bound to strike the mother lode if you are guided by creativity. Number 3. Decreasing margins are another one of my favorite issues to tackle when I am out consulting. Decreasing margins are led by market forces that do not differentiate your product or service from others. Why not try creativity to overcome these limitations and differentiate with a concrete and resolute mandate? Redefine or create an evolved position and execute it.